Hey guys, welcome back to the Blind Girl Experience. It's been a journey. Hey, when I started this journey, I had this idea, the grandiose or being a YouTuber and also having experience as being a film producer. You have this idea of how things should fall into place, from you know, episode 1 all the way to episode 100, and things will align, things will fall into place because I've been doing this. I know how to do this. And then kwa ground vitu ni different. So there's not been the consistency that I imagined that I would have in place. But here I am, and I'm happy that it's been 3 years growing, and just learning, relearning, and learning. And here we are. Today, I'm going to talk about a very, very close to my heart topic, overcoming grief. And I'd like you guys to just join me on this story because, hey, it's been a journey. It's been a journey because sometimes I really don't know how I'm here, but I'm like, hey, I'm here. I've seen the progress. I've seen the growth. So when I lost my sight in 2020, the first 2 weeks I was pleading with the universe to just nibakishe kidogo, just a bit. I mean, I just want to function the way I'm used to. I want to function the way the way I am normalized into. And I feel like if this is the negotiation I'm having, I'm like, if you take everything away, I have to learn afresh who will even love me, who will even care for me. Like now, it means I'll be dependent. And I think that it broke my heart because I imagine being dependent on other people is just the end of my life. I can't live my life depending on other people because I never saw any other person with visual impairment or even just a person with disability living their own lives, living life on their terms. You'd see even the people on the streets, the blind people on the streets, they had someone guiding them and they were beggars. The very other few blind people that I knew of were musicians. And I know I can't sing to save my life. I'm like, gosh. So it's either I sing or become a beggar. Because, hey, this life, no. So I kept begging. But after 2 weeks, after surgery, my sight was going. It was going like every single day. My sight would just depreciate every single day, and it was breaking my heart. So when I raised my hand the first time and I saw I'm not seeing it, I would be like, the first thing I'd wake up in the morning is put my hand in front of my face and be like, can I see my fingers? Can I see them? But then I can't see anything. I can see a shadow, and then the shadow became nothing, and I realized, guys, it's official. I have lost my sight. And so then I made the choice to move out of the apartment that I was living in and finally just let that life go. And I think it's the loss. And grief for most people assume it's only loss of a loved one, loss or death of a person you cared about. But I was going through grief of losing my sight. It felt like this is a whole entire person that I knew. This is the Eve with sight I have to let go of. And I think that was the hardest journey for me. So the first time, now you realize this is the life I'm going to live moving forward, is waking up. And when you wake up in the morning and open your eyes, there is no difference of you closing or opening your eyes. And it's so discombobulating because you feel confused. You're like, what is happening? Why? And then it takes like a minute for it to settle, and then you realize, oh, I'm blind. And my heart breaks like it was a routine. My heart breaks. I feel like it actually breaks, like physically breaking. I feel my soul just, and I'm like, what? This is real. Because what used to happen is that I would dream in color. There was once a time I dreamt that we were having a party at the beach. It was in Mombasa, and we were a group of friends having so much fun, and I was having a cocktail in my hand, and then I decided, hey, I want to have more fun. So I went on top of the tables and we're dancing, and I was like, I'm holding the cocktail, I'm dancing, I'm walking, and I'm so happy. But then I kept feeling there's something wrong with this dream. Like, I didn't know it was a dream, but I felt something is wrong here. Something is wrong. But I didn't know what. But anyway, I continued dancing, enjoying, and having a really good time. But I kept thinking, something is wrong. Something is off about, I don't know what it is. And then before, I think I spotted someone or something, then I was brought back to reality. So I wake up, I'm coming back into reality. I open my eyes, I'm like, I'm still asleep. So it's like I'm telling myself, open your eyes, Eve, it's morning. And then I'm so sad that the party was not real. And I'm like, gosh, I was having such a good time. We were having so much fun. And my brain is still processing. So I'm awake, but I'm not awake. So I'm like, Eve, wake up, open your eyes. Open up your eyes. You need to get on. You need to get on with your day. My eyes are actually open, but my brain has not sent the signals that I'm actually awake, that my eyes are open, because I'm blind. So it took like a minute to settle in, and then it hit me. Oh, my eyes are actually awake. Like, I touched my eyes and I'm like, my eyes are open. So I'm awake. And then it hit me. The reason I was feeling very awkward in my dream was because that's not my reality anymore. That I cannot do all those things at the same time. Holding a cocktail, dancing, walking on top of a table. It's not even that I've ever done it. I don't think I have. But just the liberation, the independence, the multitasking, just knowing that this was a reality that used to be and it's no longer there. Like waking up and finding that I cannot do those things anymore. And you just feel my heart breaking all over again. And I'm like, what? Why? Why is this happening to me? Why? Like, does that mean I'll never experience that kind of fun ever again? And I remember thinking of the colors, people's faces, and just the joy of, seeing the beach, seeing the waves. And I'm just like, all that is gone, just like that. And it feels like death. It feels like a reminder of death every single day. This other day, I had a dream about my business. So in this dream, I was coming up with strategies to improve my business. And, I had come up with social media strategies. I discussed them with myself, like the way I used to discuss with myself in my boardroom meeting with myself, because I was a sole proprietor. And I was so excited. I was like, I can't wait to do this. I can't wait to implement these strategies. And then I wake up. And the same thing happens. I wake up, I open my eyes, and because I can't see anything, I feel like my eyes are still closed. So because there's no difference with my eyes being open and closed, because there's this, you feel like there's this dark sheet of, it's like a band. You feel like it's dark sellotape that has covered your eyes. So you feel like you want to remove it every time you want to remove it. But when you're waking up, you can't tell the difference between my eyes being open and closed at some point until you feel now the breeze, and then you're like, oh yeah, my eyes are open, so that means I'm awake. And then I realized, oh no, I don't have my business. I cannot implement the strategies that I thought of. And I was so excited. Like, I wanted to, the way you come up with ideas in your mind and then you're like, I can't wait to implement. And it just broke my heart to know that I would not be in a position to do it on my own, or like the way I used to do things before. So that was intense grief. Like, you feel this immense sadness, like, this is the life that I knew. Was my reality. This was things that I was able to do just a few months ago, and now you're telling me that I can never do them again. Like, that thought process of, I'll never do these things again. I will never see people's faces again. I'll never see color again. I'll never see animals and kittens playing again. Everything was just like, everything will never be the same again. I kept seeing all the things that I'll never experience again. So even when someone would say, don't worry, everything will be okay, I'm like, no, it will not be okay. Because how I knew life, how I saw life will never be the same again. So it's almost like when you lose a loved one and you know that that person will never be there again. If it is going to the shop, you'll never go with this person again. If it is experiencing a vacation, you will never experience this vacation with that person again. That person is gone. Gone. And that was what my losing my sight felt like. That person is gone. That sight is gone. I cannot reverse it. There is absolutely nothing I can do about it. And when I was going through that grief, I felt like maybe if I take the pills that I have and just take them all at once, maybe this would be over and I don't have to experience a dark life moving forward. Because what's the point? What's the point of being so dependent and not being able to move past this point? Like, there was nothing to look forward to. My future just looked grim, dark, and forlorn, and dependent. I was a dependent. And it started hitting me in slow motion that I am now the people they used to call people with special needs. I'm like, what? I want to be better. I had so much envisioned for my life, my future, but now you're telling me this, all the things that I had seen, all the things I wanted to see, all the things that I wanted to achieve and accomplish in my life are gone. So, well, the pills were appealing, if you get me. And I thought maybe I should just take these pills and end this story once and for all, because what's the point? What is the point of waking up to this grief every single day? Every single day you wake up and your heart breaks. So when I thought about it, I remembered that there's a very high possibility that I will not die because, hey, my body is resilient. My physical body was resilient because it was recovering, but my sight was gone and my mental wellness was just off completely. And I knew that maybe I will not die, but I would become more physically disabled. So I was like, hey, I don't think I want to. I've already lost my sight. Do I really want to lose maybe something else? Nah, I'm not ready for that. I didn't want to take a chance. So I opted out of taking the pills and finishing this story once and for all. And with time, I started waking up and finding, okay, what can I be able to do that doesn't need me? Like, it will not require somebody else's intervention all the time. And so I would ask the house manager to put me, like, to connect me to a radio station on my phone, and then I would listen to music in the morning, choice radio preferred, and then in the afternoon I'd ask her to switch me to Hot 96, and that sort of stimulated my brain into hope, because there was something to look forward to. Listening to music was not taken away, because yes, sight has been taken away, but I still have hearing, my auditory nerves are still working, so let me work with that. And so I started listening to music. And over a period of time, my friend introduced me to audiobooks and would download them and come and upload them on my laptop. I think I've shared this before. And just now there was something to live for. Now there was something to wake up to, because when you listen to audiobooks, it just takes me into a whole entire fantasy. And what that was doing is that it stimulated my brain into a world that it's like a fantasy world. And in this world, because of my prior life with vision, with sight, I was able to draw those pictures in my brain. And I lived in that world of the audiobooks. I had read Harry Potter, I read Walking Dead, I read Game of Thrones, The Song of Fire and Ice, and I read this book called The Dark Tower by Stephen King. And for every story I was immersed in, I felt like I was one of those characters. It's like I'm an audience, I'm there eating popcorn, and I'm so indulged in that life, and it gave me purpose to just wake up tomorrow morning and find out, so what did Nani do? So what did Fred do? So what did this guy do? So were they found? Were they caught? Did they fight? And I'm so interested because now my brain has been diverted from grief of I don't have sight into I want to know what those characters are up to today. Because now my mind is not focused on the lack of sight, it's focused on this story. I'm involved in this story like it's part of my life now. And it helped because then every single day it was not as bad to wake up in the morning as it used to be before. Every day was just, I want to know what happened. I want to know, like, did they do this? And I'll give you an example. The Song of Fire and Ice sort of gave me an idea and opened up my mind into how the social, geopolitical wars happen. There were wars that were happening between kingdoms, whereby, based on their geographical setting. And I started understanding politics. And I'm like, what? Politics is so intense. But through listening to the books of the Song of Fire and Ice, I started understanding politics way better. And also the spiritual, how religion gets into the power play of politics. And how even the geographical setting or the geographical location of a place can be able to either give you superiority or inferiority over certain, when wars happen, and how even people with now the people who decided how the trade is and how the transactions are going to happen, and they have the material wealth, the coins, the gold. They are now the ones who decide how trade is going to happen, how the wars are going to happen. They were buying everybody. So everything just started happening and making my brain get intrigued and involved in other issues other than self-pity and, worrying about the fact that I'm not going to be able to live my life the way I'm used to. And I was now involved in discussing politics with myself. And I'm like, what? Oh my goodness, why? Why wouldn't this person think like this and this and this? The Dark Tower was also a very interesting perspective. Stephen King gives you characters that are even they're extraordinary they're humans and creatures that are extraordinary. They don't have the features of an ordinary human being. Some of them had other extra features, like beaks. They have a head with a beak. So in visual, when you see this, probably they'd look grotesque, and you'd not want to watch this kind of film. But when I'm reading this, it indulges me and helps me understand how people interact with one another, how even how we start having fights with one another because of just the differences of our physical bodies, how we decide up just because I look like this, I am superior to how you look like that. And it was also it gave me a vision of how this book was written from 1970. And they were talking about how robots had controlled a certain place, and they were the ones on kusema your place. And I'm like, what? 1970 people are thinking like this. 1970, my goodness, we're in 2020. and then I think 2021, and I'm like, we're in 2021 and we're still struggling with small things. How will we even get there? And then it talks about also a past that we have moved away from. And now my brain is slowly moving from worrying about how I'm going to, how I don't have my business, how I'm worried about not seeing things, seeing people's faces. And now I'm worried, I'm looking at life from a very different angle. So for me, audiobooks really helped me overcome my grief, because then I started seeing life bigger than myself. I stopped focusing on just me, my life, or blindness. There are things other than what I am dealing with. And also, it sort of gave me this motivation that if these characters in these books were able to overcome all these obstacles, hindrances, and they were able to live not happily ever after, but really they were able to overcome all those wars in between, then there is a place for me. And my place in this world does not have to be the way I had thought of it before. I have a place. And my place here is, okay, what can I do now? Now that I don't have sight, but I have hearing. And I'm involved. I'm a creative just by my personality. I'm like, so now that I have all this information, what can I be? How can I be able to be a better version of myself and still be a representative and a participant of my life? So that really encouraged me. And then also, whenever my friends would call or ask, so what can I bring for you? I'm like, I just want chocolate. That's it. I just want chocolate, because it felt like that was a reminder of how life's goodness can be. Because I'm looking at, yes, I've lost so many things. And people are focused, by the way. In fact, majority of the people were focused on the fact that I have lost my sight. So, Eve, how do you do this? How do you dress yourself? How are you going to move on? I'm thinking, please, I don't know. I also don't have a memo. I don't have a guide, but I want chocolate. Like, how are you thinking about chocolate at a point like this? I'm like, because chocolate I can taste. My taste buds are still working, so let's work with what is working. And my ears are working, so please, let us work with what's working. So with time, I got a phone. It's not any extraordinary phone, by the way. It is just a normal iPhone. And now I started learning about accessibility and how to use the phone. I started learning how to use the phone like from scratch. But it wasn't as hard because I already had pre-data of using a smartphone before and using a QWERTY keypad and all this. Like, I was not being introduced to a phone all from the get-go. So because I already had practice using a smartphone before, so it wasn't as hard. It was just a new experience. So even that, because my brain is now involved in other activities other than self-pity or worry or doubt or fear, it's involved in trying to figure out how to manage my M-Pesa, how to send myself buy airtime, and how to be able to buy, if I go to a supermarket, I'll be able to send money, or how I'm able to transact, really how I'm able to use other apps, because I remember the first time I got my phone, I started using I went back to Twitter before they changed it to X. And I just started posting like my daily musings, like the things that I'm experiencing, because I started finding humor in all the things that we take for granted. And I'm like, a time like this 2 years ago, I would never have thought of this and this. But now look at me. I'm in this situation and it's really hectic. And I started posting every day or every other moment I had something happening in my life. And I relearned how to use Twitter. I relearned how to use Facebook. I found a problem with Instagram, with TikTok. Hey, woo. And then Audible became my best friend, because Audible is now the app where you can be able to listen to audiobooks. And the more I listened to audiobooks, the more I grew as a person, because I would read books from fantasy to psychedelics to self-development books to fiction to nonfiction to bios. And every time I learn about other people and I learn about other people's experiences, I'm able to be lifted off my like this small world that had been created by grief. Because every time you wake up in the morning and you remember, I don't have sight, I'm not going to see people, I'm not going to see anything, I'm just going to wait on somebody to come and help me move from point A to point B. It's like I'm now trying to rewire my brain back into seeing possibilities. And through those books, I would see possibilities, because now my brain is focused on listening to the story instead of going back into the memories of how things used to be and how I'm not going to live like life the way I used to live it before. And now with the chocolate, it just brought that joy of, see, my taste buds are still working. Let me work with what is working. And also, another thing that I enjoyed and I started enjoying is nature. Like sometimes I'll just go out and sit outside and just listen to the wind and feel the sun on my face and listen to the cat. There were some stray cats at my sister's place. And with time, I have started enjoying nature, because nature it just works with or without you thinking about it. Like the sun will not stop rising because you haven't thought about the sun rising, or the ocean will not stop waving because you stop thinking about the ocean, or a kitten will not stop playing with the rubbish because you stop thinking about the kitten. It gives you a sense of like the world is bigger than you. Like the world continues even when you are wallowing in your own sorrows, and it has nothing to do with you. So you need to get back into the world and work with the world instead of you thinking that the world is against you, because the world keeps moving even when you are not moving. And so sitting in nature and just feeling the breeze, feeling the sun on my face, or just listening to the natural noises of people yelling, the birds chirping, it just made me reminded me that the universe is bigger than myself. It's bigger than me and my worries and my fears and my doubt. And it keeps moving. And even when the sun rises in the morning, it doesn't rise for a certain kind of people. Even me who's blind, it's rising as I am in this world. It didn't stop rising because, hey, Eve went blind. So we don't think we are going to rise for the next couple of days until Eve gets over her fears and her doubt. No, it rises. It rises, and every time it rises, it's like a reminder of God's love for all of us. Like, I love you despite what you are going through. I love you even when things are not the way you want them to be. I'm just reminding you that I love you, because it shares warmth, energy, and light. I may not see the light, but I feel the warmth. I feel the energy, because when it's not sunny, that day people are gloomy, people don't get out of bed, people don't want to go to work. But the sun is just a reminder that, hey, I love you, and that's what matters. It will rise for the rabbits, the hares, even the whales that we don't think about, even the sharks that we don't think about, even the monkeys that we never think about, even the people who live in the attic. Like, just because you don't think about other people doesn't mean the sun stops rising in the morning. So that also helped me overcome my grief, knowing that the world and the universe is bigger than myself and my worries and my doubts and my insecurities. So now, as we come to a close, I would love to give you like 3 or 4 tips that helped me overcome my grief. Because grief is, you feel like it's this intensity of, and it's an intense reminder of loss. Intense reminder of loss, like, hey, by the way, so-and-so is no longer here. So you can't even call that person. Oh, by the way, so-and-so is no longer here. So you can't even go for those things. You can't go out. So-and-so is not here. You will not be able to hear their voice. You will not be able to feel their touch. So that's what, it's like an intense reminder over and over again of how this thing is lost. But it doesn't mean that you have to shut it down all at once, because now what happens is that grief comes and goes. you need to experience it because it is your brain reminding you of something that used to be and is no longer there. And so now, if you continue with that pattern of wallowing or getting used to that, like you don't want to shift your body, your mind from that grief, it becomes like that. I don't know if you guys live in the village, both urban and rural, where there's no tarmac. So there's like a, what do you call it? Like in the village where you have to use path. So when people start using a certain path over a period, because grass grows everywhere, it's just land, right? So if people use a certain path because they want to get to the other, sometimes people don't use the main road, so they want to go to the next door neighbors. So they'll create a path in between the houses or in between the shambas or the gardens. They'll create a path, and if people keep walking on that path on a daily, every single day, and it will form a path, and the grass will stop growing in that path. So that's what happens when you experience grief. The first time, it will be intense. But so long as you keep going back to that intense feeling of loss over and over again, you're creating a pathway, meaning the grass will no longer grow on that path, meaning that is the cycle of thoughts that you're going to experience each and every day. So for you, if you stop using that path, that means after some time, the land will communicate, so there's a chance of us to grow, but it also depends on how long have you been creating that, how long have you been stepping on that ground. Because if you've stepped on it over years and decades, that path, the grass never grows, and it becomes like a part and parcel of you. So when you're trying to overcome grief, you also have to give yourself grace at the same time, but also don't linger on that pathway, because it's just your brain recognizing that there is something that used to be that is no longer there. But remaining in that path means that you are almost telling your brain that we don't want the grass, we don't want to grow, we don't want grass to grow here anymore. We now want this to be our pattern. We want this to be us. So you have to also trigger your brain into moving on from that sense of grief. And one way I used one tactic that I used to be able to overcome grief is I found something new to do. So when you find something new to do, your brain starts focusing on that new thing to do. And my new thing was, the first time, it was listening to audiobooks. I never used to listen to audiobooks. I used to read books, the hardcover books. So that was what made me happy. I love reading books. So now listening to audiobooks is a whole new, it's like you're shifting your brain from working the way it used to work before to now working in a very different direction. And so now, because I've shifted my brain, I'm creating a new pattern, a new pathway. And now this pathway, it's like shifting to using the maram, using the road, the tarmac road. And you say, hey, we will not be using this path in between. We are going to use the main road and go through the gate. So I started listening to audiobooks that redirected my thoughts from being, oh my God, I cannot see. Oh my God, I cannot be able to see color. Oh my God, I will not be able to see cat videos. Oh my God, I'll not be able to see children. If I ever get a child, I'll never see if I ever fall in love, I'll never see the face of you're looking at all the things that you are losing or you've lost. And so I was changing the pattern to now focusing on something new, engaging in something new. So engage in something new. It could be gardening. It could be volunteering at a children's home. It could be volunteering for a new job, a new exercise activity that you've never done. You could be getting into a new activity, hiking. Or it could be, going to a baraza or going to an old people's home and just helping out. Because now you're removing your brain, you're rewiring your brain from focusing on the loss, and now you're focusing on learning this new activity. Second, it could be find something that brings you joy. For me, it was chocolate, because I knew chocolate just reminded me that the world is not such a bad place after all, because there's sweetness in chocolate. So for you, I don't know what it could be. It could be tea. It could be anything. Anything that gives you joy. It could be getting a new kitten. It could be walking, taking nature walks. I don't know, whatever gives you joy. Joy, because this is a pattern. This is already a pattern that that was already in your brain, but you know that this path gives you joy. So engage in it. Engage in it once a day, twice a week. Make it now your thing that you go to give you joy, because now you're triggering those happy hormones in your body, and it's reversing and rewiring your brain away from the grief. It's not saying we don't want it. Grief is part and parcel of life experiences, because your brain is telling you this thing used to be here and it's no longer here. But now you're not going to stay there and focus on the grief. You're now focusing on other things that life has to offer. The third thing would be get an accountability partner. An accountability partner could be your friend, it could be your family, it could be somebody, your loved one, your partner. Get that person, talk to them about this new thing you started doing and how, the progress of it all. It actually just gives you somebody to share this journey with, so that it's not as lonely, and that person is able to, empower you, motivate you, inspire, motivate you to keep going, because then now you're not focused, you have somebody to share this journey with. It becomes so much interesting and more motivating to go by, because you're not doing this journey alone. When you do it alone, at some point you can easily give up and say, you know what, I feel happier when I'm sad. I don't know if it makes sense, but it's like I'm more comfortable feeling sad than, because this is not happening for me. I've already lost my partner. No, find an accountability partner. You could have lost a loved one, but find a sister. Maybe you just tell her, oh, by the way, I volunteered in the kitchen for the old people's home, and this and this happens, and this happened, because then you see the growth also in yourself. And then the first thing is, if you keep repeating 1, 2, 3, you'll find that eventually the grief is not as heavy as it was before. It becomes a thought, it becomes a memory, but it doesn't become it doesn't become your personality, it doesn't become you. It just becomes a memory that, yes, that person was once in my life, but they're no longer here, and I'm happy that I got to share these memories with this person. But you're not fixated on the loss of that person. You're fixated, you now have that as a memory in your brain, as this person used to be here, but they're no longer here with me, and I'm glad I have that memory. So now, because you're focused on other things that are building you, growing you, and helping you become a better person. So yeah, I'm hoping that this story or this journey has helped you during your own experience of overcoming grief, because it can be so taxing, and I can't say that it's a one-way highway or it's a black and white situation. There's so many times you'll want to give up. There's so many times you'll want to go back to your comfort zone, because it feels like such a comfort place to be, feeling sad about life, feeling sad about so many things that you've lost, all the things that you used to do, all the things that you could do, all the things that you had thought you were going to do, and now you're not able to. It's such a comfort zone, because it's a pathway that you'd already created over a period of time. But I'm just here to encourage you that even when you feel, just go back to those tasks, get something new to do, get an accountability partner who will help you with this journey, so that you can be able to share these experiences with that person, and also find something that brings you joy. Because imagine the world is not as bad as it looks. Yes, I've lost my sight, but I can imagine right now, I'm able to use my phone, and it gives me so much joy. I always listen to a new book at least every week, and it gives me a new understanding of human. It gives me a new understanding of so many philosophies. It gives me a new understanding of so many things that I probably did not understand or even understand or even know of before. So that gives me joy. And also, I still indulge in chocolates. It gives me joy. And every time I'm having, I'm able to share these experiences with my friends, and would share, oh, today I'm doing this, or today I'm doing that. And also, I share on my social media pages. I have a Facebook page called Blind Girl Experience. I share my experiences there. And also on X, ever so often, I just share whatever experiences I'm going through. And it now it's like my accountability partners are my audiences, my followers, because they get to, either comment and say what is the experience, or probably just cheer me on if it's something really great. Like when I'm having a gig or a speaking engagement, they're like, hey, congratulations, we got you, you're doing great. You're going through this journey with other people, and they're there to motivate you as well. So if this episode resonated with you, please share your comments with what has been your journey of overcoming grief, and what has your grief felt like. And if you've gotten any insights and ideas on how you can be able to overcome your grief, also share what your insights have been on how you've overcome your own grief. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe if you're new to this channel. And please put on your notification notification so that whenever we upload, you'll be the first to know. And we also have merchandise like the t-shirt I'm wearing. So if you're interested, you can always just send us a WhatsApp message on the number below, and we can be able to get you one, and you can be part of our community. So thank you for joining me today. And it has been real having you guys around. Thank you for being part of my journey. Thank you for being my accountability partners. And grief is just a step at a time. Give yourself grace. Don't be too hard on yourself. Accept, yes, the losses happened, but just take the journey and enjoy the life experience, because there's nothing wrong with loss. It's just an experience, and we can be able to overcome. Bye.